Hey everyone! Have you ever wondered why you keep attracting manipulative partners? You know, the kind who seem charming at first, but somehow manage to twist your reality, make you doubt yourself, or, dare I say it, turn you into a puddle of emotional mush. Yeah, we've all been there. It's like dating a magician who specializes in pulling emotional rabbits out of your hat, but never in a good way. If you found yourself repeatedly drawn to partners who mess with your head or play mind games, you're not alone. In fact, this might be a lot more common than you think. And while it may feel like you're cursed with the worst luck in love, there's actually a deeper reason behind it. Stick around, because today we're going to uncover why you're attracted to those manipulative partners and how you can break the cycle once and for all. Let's face it, toxic relationships are a universal experience. We all know what it's like to get swept up in the highs and lows, the promises, and the inevitable heartbreak. It doesn't matter how smart, strong, or independent you are. Sometimes we still find ourselves stuck in these emotional roller coasters. And the frustrating part? It doesn't always happen once. For some of us, it's like we're collecting them, one manipulative partner after another. But understanding why we're attracted to these kinds of relationships is the key to breaking free from the pattern. It's not about blaming yourself, it's about self-awareness. The better we understand ourselves, the better we can make healthier choices moving forward. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want to date someone who doesn't mess with their head or emotionally exhaust them? Why do we keep finding ourselves in these situations? Why is it so easy to get sucked into the gravitational pull of someone who's just, well, not good for us? One of the biggest challenges we face in these toxic relationships is the emotional roller coaster. You know, those moments when you're sitting there thinking, wait, this isn't healthy, but something about them still feels right. We confuse the highs, the love bombing, the grand gestures, the sweet words, with genuine affection. And when the lows hit, where they turn cold, critical, or manipulative, we convince ourselves it's a temporary thing. Oh, they're just stressed out, we tell ourselves, or it's just a misunderstanding. You make excuses, and that's where the real danger lies. People who manipulate are masters at creating emotional confusion. They gaslight, they pull away to keep you guessing, and they give you just enough affection to keep you coming back for more. But the emotional toll? That's a slow burn. Over time, you start to question your own judgment, your self-worth, and whether you're even capable of being loved in a healthy way. And before you know it, you're deep in it, unable to untangle yourself from the mess. All right, now let's dig deeper into the psychological side of things. Why on earth are we attracted to these types of partners in the first place? And no, it's not because you're some kind of emotional masochist. Well, not necessarily. First, let's talk about low self-esteem. If you grew up feeling unworthy of love or affection, you might find yourself drawn to people who reinforce that belief. Manipulative partners are great at subtly chipping away at your self-worth. At first, they might shower you with praise or attention, making you feel special. But over time, they'll start to undermine your confidence. Criticism disguised as helpful advice, gaslighting you into thinking your reality is wrong, or even using silent treatment as a form of control. If you already struggle with self-doubt, this behavior can make you feel like you need them to feel validated. You start to think, without them, who am I? And that's exactly how they want you to feel, dependent on them. Next up, fear of abandonment. Oh, this one is big. If you've experienced abandonment or emotional neglect in the past, it can leave you with an unconscious fear of being alone. So when a manipulative partner shows up and dangles the carrot of love in front of you, you latch onto them like a life raft. Even when they're toxic, you fear that if you let go, you'll be left stranded in emotional isolation. The thought of them walking away, no matter how bad they treat you, is scarier than staying in a relationship that's slowly draining you. It's a classic case of better the devil you know than the devil you don't. The paradox here is that by staying in this unhealthy relationship, you're actually guaranteeing your own emotional starvation. But it's hard to recognize this when the fear of being alone is so overwhelming. And here's where it gets a little more complicated: unresolved trauma. A lot of us repeat patterns we've experienced in our past, especially childhood. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional or emotionally manipulative, you might unconsciously seek out relationships that mirror that dynamic. It feels familiar, even though it's toxic. It's like your brain is stuck on a broken record, playing the same painful tune over and over, but you don't even realize it's happening. This isn't about being a glutton for punishment. It's about your brain seeking what it knows, even if what it knows is bad for you. So here's where the magic happens: recognizing the pattern. Imagine this: you've just walked away from yet another relationship that felt like you were in an emotional whirlwind. You're drained, confused, and wondering why you can't seem to make healthier choices. But then, bam, it hits you. You start to see that your attraction to these manipulative partners wasn't random. It wasn't just a fluke. It was a reflection of unresolved issues you've carried with you. And in that moment, you realize you don't have to keep repeating this pattern. The key to breaking free is not about changing the other person. It's about changing how you view yourself and your relationship to love. The turning point often comes when you realize that your happiness doesn't need to be tethered to someone who manipulates your emotions. You start to prioritize your self-worth, set boundaries, and recognize that being alone is better than being in a toxic relationship. And once you do that, the power dynamics start to shift. You no longer need to be controlled by the fear of abandonment or the need for validation. To sum it up, if you finally find yourself repeatedly attracted to manipulative partners, it's not because you're broken or inherently flawed. It's a combination of low self-esteem, fear of abandonment, and unresolved trauma that creates a pattern of attraction to toxic people. But the good news is that understanding these triggers is the first step to breaking free from the cycle. The more aware you become of these underlying emotional patterns, the more empowered you'll be to make healthier choices in your relationships. And once you start breaking those patterns, the idea of dating someone who respects you, supports you, and doesn't mess with your head will no longer seem like a fantasy. It will become your reality. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you found yourself in a toxic relationship that you couldn't explain at first? Or maybe you've already started to recognize these patterns and are working on breaking them? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your comment may help someone else. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.